Shadows of Elm Street, Number 7. Chapter 1. A New Beginning. Emma stood by the window of her new apartment, pressing a cool, half-empty latte mug to her temple. Below, the gray, bleak landscape of Chicago stretched out, filled with cookie-cutter brick buildings, each seemingly identical to the last. Her new sanctuary, an apartment on the 5th floor of Number 7 on Elm Street, was no exception. Faded floral wallpaper, old parquet floors that creaked with every step, and the scent of dust seemingly embedded in the very walls. All of it was supposed to be her fresh start, or at least an attempt at one. 32 years old, an age when many people had their lives settled, a family, a career. But Emma felt lost, like a rudderless ship adrift after a recent, painful breakup. She'd fled New York, leaving behind memories that suffocated her and a pain that, it seemed, would never subside. Chicago, a city with a windy soul and majestic skyscrapers, had been chosen at random simply because it was far enough away. The first few days were hectic and exhausting. Unpacking boxes, arranging her sparse furniture, trying to settle in. Emma wasn't used to being alone. There had always been someone, first her parents, then friends, then Daniel. Now silence, deafening and bone-chilling. A silence broken only by the creak of old pipes and the faint hum of the elevator, as if the house itself was breathing. In the evenings, as the city plunged into twilight and the lights in her neighbors' windows winked out one by one, a strange feeling would wash over Emma. The feeling that she wasn't alone. It wasn't fear, exactly, more a sense of presence, a slight tingling on her skin like static electricity. She attributed it to fatigue, stress, her imagination running wild in the excessive quiet. It first happened on the 5th night. Emma, trying to fall asleep, listened to the familiar sounds of the building. Somewhere above, a dull thud echoed, then another, as if something heavy was being slowly dragged across the floor. She froze. Her upstairs neighbors? But they, an elderly couple, had gone to visit relatives for a few weeks, something they'd kindly mentioned upon their first meeting. The sounds continued, rhythmic, dragging, as if someone were moving furniture. Emma grabbed her phone to check the time, 2:47 a.m. Her heart pounded in her chest. Maybe it wasn't the neighbors, but the wind? Or some mechanical issue? She tried to convince herself of the rationality of it all, but an irrational fear began to sprout, latching onto her consciousness. The next morning, she tried to forget about it. In the bright daylight, the nighttime sounds seemed absurd. Emma decided to go downstairs for groceries. The hallway was deserted. Approaching the elevator, she noticed something unusual. On the old, scuffed elevator door, right above the call button, someone had drawn a strange symbol in chalk. A circle with an inverted figure eight like an infinity sign sketched inside it. Next to it, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "Look closely." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She ran her finger over the chalk. What was it? Childish prank? Or a message? To whom? She cautiously glanced around. No one. She hurried to the exit, feeling as if unseen eyes were following her. Chapter 2, Whispers in the Walls. The following nights became a nightmare. The sounds from upstairs continued, growing clearer and more terrifying. Now, they weren't just thuds. Emma began to hear scraping, shuffling, distant moans that seemed to penetrate the ceiling and creep into her bedroom. She tried to sleep, burying her head under the pillow, but her mind remained anxiously alert. One night, she heard laughter. A quiet, sinister, feminine laugh drifting down from somewhere above. It was broken, almost mad, and it sent shivers down her spine. Emma sprang up, flipping on the light. The room was empty. She approached the ceiling, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. It ceased. The next morning, she decided to speak to the building manager. An elderly, dry man, Mr. Henderson, listened to her with disbelief. Upstairs neighbors? What are you talking about, miss? Nobody's lived there for ages. Old Mrs. Davis, God rest her soul, passed away 6 months ago. Her son just hasn't gotten around to selling the apartment, so it's just sitting empty. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. But I hear sounds. At night. Scraping, footsteps, laughter. Mr. Henderson just shook his head. You're not used to an old building. The pipes hum, the wind howls. All sorts of things happen. He didn't even bother to hide his smirk. Emma left his office feeling foolish and humiliated. But the fear wouldn't let go. If the upstairs apartment was empty, where were these sounds coming from? She became more attentive to details. The symbol on the elevator was gone, as if it had never been there. But Emma remembered it clearly. A circle and an inverted 8. She searched for similar signs online but found nothing. One evening, while looking through old photos on her computer, Emma heard a faint rustle. It came from the kitchen's ventilation duct. She froze. Then, a quiet, almost inaudible whisper. The words were impossible to discern, but it was definitely a voice, feminine, as if talking to itself. Emma slowly brought her ear closer to the vent cover. The whisper intensified, becoming more discernible, yet still unclear. She thought she caught a fragment of a phrase, "He'll find you," or had she just dreamed it? Emma started keeping a diary. She recorded the times she heard sounds, described her feelings, tried to find patterns. She felt her sanity slowly unraveling. Her sleep became shallow, filled with nightmares. In her nightmares, she saw shadows flitting through her apartment's hallways and that same laughter that pursued her even in her sleep. During the day, Emma tried not to be alone. She went to cafes, walked around the city, called friends back in New York, but she didn't dare tell them the whole truth, fearing they'd think she was insane. She felt trapped. The apartment walls, which were supposed to be her sanctuary, now felt like a prison. Chapter 3: Ghosts of the Past. One day, returning home, Emma found her jewelry box open. She was certain she had closed it. Nothing was missing, but it was another piece of evidence that something was happening in her apartment. Paranoia reached its peak. She began to suspect her neighbors, but which of them could be involved? Emma thought of Daniel. Their breakup had been difficult, but he was always rational and level-headed. Perhaps he could help. She called him. "Hi, Emma." His voice sounded distant, but she detected a note of concern. "Daniel, I need your help. I don't know what's happening to me." She told him everything, about the sounds, the symbol, the laughter, the whispers. She spoke disjointedly, almost crying. Silence hung on the other end of the line. "Emma, are you sure it's not your nerves? You know how much stress you've been through." "I'm not crazy, Daniel. I know this is real." "All right, Emma. I'll come. First thing tomorrow morning." His words brought her relief. Someone believed her. That was what mattered most. The night before his arrival was the most terrifying. The sounds from upstairs were especially loud. Emma heard something scratching across the floor like sharp claws. Then a dull thud, followed by another and another, as if someone was pounding on the walls. She sat, clutching her knees, pressed against the wall, trembling with fear. In the morning, when Daniel knocked on her door, Emma rushed to him, almost sobbing. He embraced her, and she felt safe. "Daniel, I'm so glad you came." He looked tired. "Tell me everything again," calmly. She led him through the apartment, showing him the places where she believed the sounds originated. He listened intently, examined the walls, checked the ventilation. "I don't hear anything," he said, tapping on the ceiling. "Maybe it's drafts?" "No, it's not drafts. It's something else." Daniel suggested installing cameras. "We'll put a few cameras in the apartment. If something happens, they'll capture it." She agreed. It gave her hope. The cameras were installed. Emma felt a little calmer. The first night after installing the cameras, she slept better than usual. In the morning, she woke with relief. She checked the recordings. The clock showed 2:47 a.m. Nothing. Only a faint hum like wind. She fast-forwarded. Nothing. "Daniel, there's nothing here," she told him on the phone, feeling despair creep back in. "Emma, that's good. Maybe it stopped." But she knew it hadn't. She felt it hadn't. Chapter 4, The Watch. Emma began to watch the upstairs apartment. She spent hours by the window, staring at the drawn blinds, trying to catch any movement. Nothing. The windows were dark, lifeless. One day, while Daniel was at work, Emma decided to go up to the top floor. Her heart pounded in her chest. She climbed the stairs, each step echoing in the quiet hallway. Mrs. Davis's apartment door was old, cracked, with peeling paint. A lock hung on it, but it seemed flimsy. Emma put her ear to the door. Silence. Only her own quickened breathing. Suddenly, a faint rustle came from behind the door. Emma flinched. Then, a quiet, drawn-out moan, as if someone was sighing deeply. Emma froze, listening. The moan repeated, clearer this time, followed by that same insane laughter. A woman's laughter. Emma recoiled from the door, her heart plummeting. She quickly descended the stairs, stumbling until she reached her apartment. She locked the door with all its bolts and called Daniel. "Daniel, I was up there. I heard it. The laughter. The moans," she almost screamed. "Emma, calm down. Are you sure? Maybe you imagined it." "No. I'm sure. I didn't imagine it." Daniel arrived that evening, alarmed by her call. He went up with her to the 5th floor. This time, silence. He knocked on the door. No one answered. "Emma, there's really no one here," he said, looking at her with concern. "But I heard it," she insisted, feeling increasingly isolated in her terror. He suggested she see a therapist. "Emma, I'm worried about you. Perhaps it could help you cope with the stress." She was offended. "Do you think I'm crazy?" "No, of course not. But you look very tired and your nerves are frayed." She agreed, though without much enthusiasm. The therapy sessions offered no relief. The therapist listened attentively, asked questions about her past, her breakup with Daniel, her feelings of loneliness. She spoke of the sounds, the symbols, but felt her words weren't being taken seriously. She was prescribed mild sedatives. Emma felt cornered. No one believed her. Everyone thought it was a result of her emotional state. But she knew it wasn't. It was real. Chapter 5, Truth or Illusion. The nights became unbearable. She began to see shadows. They flickered in her peripheral vision in the corners of rooms behind her back. When she turned, they were gone. She felt her sanity slowly crumbling. One night, Emma woke up to a feeling of coldness. She opened her eyes. Her bedroom door was ajar. She was certain she had closed it. Then she heard a rustle. It came from the hallway. Emma slowly got out of bed. Her heart pounded in her chest, echoing dully in her ears. She approached the door. The hallway was dark, but she saw something moving in the shadows. Something tall, thin, almost ethereal. It moved slowly, as if gliding. Emma stepped back, pressing against the wall. Then the entity stopped and turned its head. It was a female silhouette. Long, disheveled hair obscured its face, but Emma felt its gaze. The silhouette raised a hand. Its fingers were long and thin, like tree branches. Then the entity pointed towards the bedroom door where Emma's bed lay. A panicked scream tore from her throat. She rushed back into the room, slammed the door shut, and slid the bolt. She trembled all over. These couldn't be hallucinations. This was too real. In the morning, she called Daniel. "I need to leave. Right now. I can't stay here anymore." Daniel arrived immediately. He saw her pale face, her trembling hands. "Emma, what happened?" She told him about the silhouette in the hallway. He listened, frowning. "I'll book our tickets. We'll leave today." While Daniel packed her things, Emma decided to go upstairs one last time. She didn't know why. Perhaps she wanted to convince herself she wasn't losing her mind, or that she could find an explanation for everything. She climbed the stairs. Mrs. Davis's apartment door was slightly ajar. The lock was broken. Emma froze. Terror seized her, but so did an overwhelming curiosity. She cautiously pushed the door. It creaked open, revealing a dark hallway. The apartment was filled with clutter. Old furniture, dusty covers, boxes scattered on the floor. The air was heavy with the smell of dampness and something sickly sweet. Emma slowly stepped forward. She peered into the bedroom. The bed was made, but on it lay an old, yellowed photograph. Emma picked it up. It showed a woman, elderly, with a kind face, but with eyes that held endless sorrow. Beneath the photograph lay a worn notebook. A diary. Emma opened it. The handwriting was neat, but the letters were smudged in places from time. She began to read. It was Mrs. Davis's diary. August 25th, 2024. He came again today. Whispered to me that he would take me soon. My son doesn't believe me. He thinks I've gone mad. But I know he's real. He lives in the walls. September 10th, 2024. I hear him every night. His laughter. He wants me to join him. He says then I can be with my husband. My poor Henry, he never came back from the war. October 15th, 2024. He's getting stronger. He moves things. He hides in the shadows. I'm scared. I know he's coming for me. November 2nd, 2024. He drew that sign on the elevator. A circle and an inverted 8. He said it's the symbol of eternity. Eternity in his grasp. Emma read, feeling a chill run down her spine. She recognized everything written. The sounds, the laughter, the symbol. All of it had been in her apartment. But it couldn't be a ghost. It was too material. She turned the page. On the last page, written in a trembling hand, there were just a few lines. November 5th, 2024. He's here. He came. He took me. Now I'm with Henry. And I'll be waiting for you, my dear neighbor. Now you're part of this house too. Emma's hand trembled. She dropped the diary. At that moment, she heard a rustle behind her. She slowly turned around. Standing in the doorway was Daniel. His eyes were empty, devoid of any expression. A chilling, distorted smile played on his face. "Hello, Emma," he whispered, his voice low, drawn out, like an echo. "I've been waiting for you." Emma stumbled backward until her back hit the wall. She tried to scream, but only a soundless gasp escaped her throat. "I waited for you to come to this house. I waited for you to feel it. And you did." He took a step forward. "Did you think it was the old woman? Did you think it was the house?" "No, Emma. It's me." Emma stared at him, unable to move. There was no love, no sympathy in his eyes. Only a cold, bottomless void. "I've always been with you. In your thoughts. In your fears. In your pain. I fed on your sorrow, your loneliness. And when you fled here, I followed you." He stretched out his hand towards her. His fingers were long and thin, almost translucent. "This house is the perfect place. Old Mrs. Davis was excellent prey. And now it's you." Emma remembered everything. His words about her nerves, his calmness when she told him about the sounds. He had never heard them because he himself was their source. He himself was this unseen enemy who tormented her. He had manipulated her, driving her to the brink of madness. "Did you think you escaped the past?" Daniel whispered, drawing closer. "But you can't escape me. I am your deepest fear. Your darkest loneliness." His hand touched her cheek. The cold that pierced her to the bone was unearthly. Emma felt her consciousness begin to cloud. She saw his face, his empty eyes, and in them she saw only her own reflection, distorted by horror. The last thing she heard was his voice, now completely unlike Daniel's, but rather like the whisper of the wind coming from the deepest depths of emptiness. "Welcome home, Emma. We will be here forever." Apartment number 7 fell silent. Only the old parquet floor creaked faintly under an unseen weight. And downstairs, in the hallway, someone was drawing a new symbol in chalk on the elevator door. A circle with an inverted figure 8 inside.